Hey there. We're just getting started, so I got kicked out for a second, but I don't know if that was Elon Musk, hear me out, but I will endeavor now to get going and start tweeting this out here so we can get into a really interesting discussion about this. I got a lot of thoughts on this, a lot of opinions on this, and I hope you guys too, because I want to hear kind of from you where you're at. So for now, I'm going to just tweet this out. Just give me a second while I tweet it out. And if you guys can tweet out too, that would be also very helpful. Let me see if I can put the tweet up at the top here and nest it there. That way, uh, we can uh, we can totally get this going, which is kind of exciting. So let me just see here if I can find my tweet, and I'll put that in there. Otherwise, the rest of you can also share your thoughts and be part of this conversation because I think it's going to be a really amazing discussion about what's going on and what's trending on Twitter. Obviously, it's a very hot topic. It's one of the reasons why I kind of put this. That's why I put this thing together. I thought it'd be a kind of a cool conversation to have. And I think as someone who's been on Twitter and who loves the platform, it's imperative that we have those conversations. So there's a tweet up above if you want to tweet that between us, and we can get more people in this conversation. And yeah, we'll get a conversation with that. Oh, I see Dr. J's here. That's lovely. Good to see you, Dr. J. And of course, Indra, as always, as my fantastic co-host, who's been really helping me a lot in many of my rooms on a weekly basis. I really appreciate her as well. So, Indra, why don't you say hello? How are you?
Hi, good morning, Bobby, and good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Power of Connection. A great topic. And as you know, being the founder of the Positivity Vibe Tribe, I'm always going to look for the positives in every situation. So I've got a lot of positive ideas about this.
Oh, interesting. Let me ask you that. I mean, positive vibe tribe, does that mean that you're not able to constructively criticize something, or does that mean that you also can't ever have a rant? You know what I mean? Like, how does that work? Tell me a bit more about that.
Okay, so so life and issues are going to happen and everything, but I always choose to look at the silver lining in a situation. That's usually my choice. So it's always a choice how we look at every situation, at everything that happens to us in life, that we push forward in life, and so it basically means that I'll always choose to look for the silver lining in all situations wherever possible and focus on that and focus on building the positive, the advantages of all of the around, basically on that idea.
Sure. It's funny. Someone once told me that, Bobby, why don't you like share a post on LinkedIn or Twitter where you're ranting, really harshly. And I typically, when I talk about things that I'm criticizing or things that I'm concerned about or things that I'm upset about, I always have the positive spin in terms of here are the solutions, here are the suggestions, here's what I want to do differently, like things like that. And I never really, just rant and end of rant. It's kind of rare for me to do that. So it's interesting how that works for you. So I appreciate that. So we're going to get right into this. We're talking about why you should stay on Twitter despite Elon Musk. And the reason why I bring this up is because ever since when the first thing came out that he was going to take over, a lot of us had concern, including myself, for a lot of really good legitimate reasons, right? Because certainly the first thing we see is that when one person controls an entire large media organization like this, there's certainly lots of issues around what that control means and how much of their personality and their values and their ego will be distilled amongst the organization. The second thing, of course, is that there's been a lot of criticism on this platform of him where he has shared things that where he talks about freedom of speech, but then when people criticize him, he gets really upset, which is a very common thing that a lot of people who have power, have trouble dealing with. And then of course, the fact that recently he retweeted some sort of, conspiracy theory stuff. So I think there's a lot of stuff there that I think people have legitimate concerns about. But then it goes to the issue of, well, should people leave? And people are like, yeah, like I just saw the other night, like some people that I do follow and love, including some famous people. Like there was one was Mark Maron, the comedian, and then Shonda Rhimes, the producer, both saying, "I'm leaving Twitter. Bye." And I'm just like, why? Why are you leaving? And then LeBron James did a tweet about, worried about the racism, and the other big issue, of course, is that because of his take on free speech, that means that he might bring back a lot of very divisive or negative or trolling type voices on his platform. And what does that mean? So I think there's a lot of people who have legitimate concerns about that. And as somebody who hosts this Power Connection room, and as somebody who has been a social media, um, I don't want to say like a guru. I want to say like a nut bar, someone who's like really into social media. I've been on Twitter for a long time. Same with Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. I do a lot of social media marketing influence, and I talk about how to leverage digital marketing. And so, from my standpoint, I don't want people to leave. And so I've been begging these people to please stay or at least consider staying. And that's why I thought, let's have the conversation about it in terms of, what are the reasons people want us to leave? What are the reasons people should stay? And I want to hear from every single one of you. If you think this is a good conversation, I encourage you to retweet what's in the nest above. I encourage you to click on the bottom right button where the discussion piece is, and to comment or ask questions there. I also encourage you to click on the arrow button on the top there and share a tweet about this. Hey, come join us to talk about Elon Musk and Twitter, all our Twitter concerns, because I think that's going to be part of the discussion. And if you tag me, if you tag Indra, tag a bunch of us, then we'll be able to see it in our feed, and then I'll be able to retweet it. So then when you tag me, then I'll see it. I'll retweet to my 500,000 followers. I'll then which will get more people in the room, which will also get people to follow you guys, hopefully. So that's kind of what we're doing here today with that. So the way we're going to work with this is, obviously people who come up on stage, one at a time will share thoughts, share ideas. And I will, but first let's do some introduction, because I see that Indra is here as well. So I'm going to let her introduce herself. She's one of my co-hosts. And I see Linda's come back, which is great. I see Sweta's in the audience. If she wants to come up, she totally can too. Sweta's also helped co-host some rooms with me. Uh, and then once I have the introductions from Indra and Linda, I'm going to give you my pitch, and then we'll get into the discussion. So Indra, please go ahead with your. Actually, let's go to Linda first, because she's back again a second week, and I'm hoping to convince Linda to keep coming back, because she was here last week and had some really great insights. So Linda, go ahead and introduce yourself to everybody.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much, Bobby, for bringing me up here and hosting this space. It's very interesting. I'm just as curious as everyone else because I don't know if I have fully formed thoughts on the matter, but my name is Linda Ray. I recently changed my Instagram profile to Quirky Entrepreneur because I'm goofy and I'm one of those where I'm trying to settle in. Do I really want to niche down, or do I want to stay a generalist? And after almost 40 years as a professional licensed insurance broker, I've I've owned multiple businesses besides just insurance. So I'm always looking for these fun business spaces to talk about all kinds of things business, because we have to wear so many hats and play so many roles, and it can be overwhelming, exhausting, but also exhilarating and fulfilling. And Indra, I am with you about being positive, but I will say it is a conscious, conscientious, consistent struggle sometimes, because the negative is so easy to default, and especially during trying times. So thanks for having me up, and it's nice to see everybody here.
Thanks, Linda. Indra, please go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi, good morning, everyone. I'm Indra Bartona. I am a producer in the film and television industry, a TV host, and the founder of the Positivity Vibe Tribe. So, originally, I started off in the Gold Coast, Australia, as you can hear from the accent, lived in London, and now I'm based in Los Angeles. So, I started my Positivity Vibe Tribe global community last year in June, and I actually had a year in the planning behind the scenes of all the content and everything I wanted to create. And the reason why I got so inspired is because since 5 years of age, it was basically I learned how to meditate, and then from around 12 it became a passion, all the self growth and self improvement books. And the world had changed at that point when major things happened in the world with the virus had arrived. I felt like it was a time to create a positive place and create tools and resources for people. So that's pretty much the reason why I love the Positivity Vibe Tribe, and I always take I guess, the brighter side of life on most topics. Thanks, Bobby.
Awesome. Thanks so much. My name is Bobby Umar. I am a professional speaker by trade. For the last 17 years, I've traveled around the world across 4 continents and delivered 1,000 keynotes and workshops on the areas of leadership, thought leadership, personal branding, authentic connection, community building, mindset, confidence, community building, all that kind of stuff. And also digital marketing, digital influence, social media like Twitter, LinkedIn, social audio, things like that. That's what I talk about. And I also coach people in the same type of things for career transition, entrepreneur business growth, getting a clear personal brand, and building your thought leadership brand, helping people become TEDx speakers, helping them become paid speakers. I'm a 5-time TEDx speaker myself. And I'm also a digital influence guy. I mean, I have 500,000 followers on Twitter, 70,000 on LinkedIn, 32,000 on Instagram. So I've been putting myself out there all the time to deliver stuff and deliver content. And so obviously I have so much to say about this. I can't even tell you. I should have made a list and made some bullet points for myself. But I'm going to start with the number one reason why we should all stay on Twitter. Because if we leave, they win. That's really the main thing that I'm staying for. And what I can tell you is that of all the social media platforms I've been on, Twitter is the best place for getting the most accessible news, to having the most access to people and to situations and organizations, having the most up to date information about what's going on in the world. But most importantly, it is the best place to amplify small voices. So if someone's going through something and they share on this platform, yes, sometimes a YouTube video or a TikTok video can go viral. That's true. But on Twitter, it's very easy for something to go viral and for people to actually be seen out there on the platform. Someone may have 100 followers and they post something or they share a video, and next thing you know, it can be easily amplified because of the content, because of the importance of it. And so for me, amplifying small voices, amplifying marginalized voices, so people who are, marginalized, whether it's, women, refugees, LGBTQ, you name it, black and brown people. And then number three, people who are vulnerable, right? The sick, the disabled, the elderly. To me, being able to give them a voice, to amplify their voice, and to advocate for those people on this platform is one of the best places to do it versus other platforms. Sure, I've done social justice posts on Instagram, and I've done them on LinkedIn, I've done them on Facebook, and whatever what might happen. But LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook in particular have very, very strong algorithms that dampen our efforts. Whereas on Twitter, not as much. I mean, there is certainly some algorithm stuff, but it's still not the same. Here, people are able to build up very strong voices for whatever they're advocating for. I know, like, for example, many of my friends during the pandemic, doctors and nurses in particular, were sharing their knowledge. And even though they have only maybe 1,000 followers to start, their messages are being tweeted, retweeted, and seen and liked by thousands and thousands of people. And so for me, I'm on this platform to fight for those things. I'm here to fight for inequity. I'm here to fight for equality. I'm here to fight for the people who are marginalized, the people who have small voice, the people who are vulnerable. And so that to me is the number one reason. This idea of having to leave, to me makes me feel like, okay, we're going to, we're letting them win. We're letting them take over the people who are divisive or hateful or are bigoted or whatever it might be. And so for me, that's a general reason why I'm staying. Now, some, of course, will say, well, Bobby, you have a lot of influence here and you have a blue check mark. Yeah, I get it. I mean, so yes, I have an invested interest, and I'll be full disclosure, certainly have a vested interest in staying on here and leveraging that, because this is the platform where I have my greatest influence. But I'm trying to convince people, even if they have 1,000 followers or even less, to say, look, this is the place. If you're sharing great content, your voice matters, and we need to hear you. We need to hear the diversity of voices. We need to have all the different people out there. And the best way to navigate divisive content is to have unifying messages that heal people and create understanding. If you look at my pinned tweet, that's really what I'm all about. I'm all about creating understanding. I'm all about bridging understanding. I'm all about fighting the divide by being more unifying and finding ways that we all can collaborate and work together. So for me, that's the number one reason why I think we should stay. There's lots of other variables we can get into, but to me, that's the first thing that comes to my mind. And so this is where I want to open the discussion. We're going to talk about why you stay on Twitter, and I also want to hear from people why they want to leave, and maybe I can hear, you can put your hand up and come on stage and share your thoughts, your story. But that's kind of my positioning. There's actually more things to say too. Like I can certainly talk about, well, sure. What about if they bring divisive voices back, or what about how are the things in safety going to change? What about how much of influence is this billionaire going to have on what we're doing? I mean, there's lots of things to consider, but the number one reason I'm saying to stay here is we need to advocate for the small voices, the marginalized voices, the vulnerable voices, and use this platform as a tool to call out the things that are out there, because it is the best place for accessing those things, for amplifying those things, and for giving voice and support to those people who need it. That's my number one thing. Indra, I'll go to you first and tell me your thoughts about, are you first off, the question, are you staying on Twitter? And if so, why?
Okay, so thanks, Bobby. Yes, I'm staying on Twitter. And the reason why is that, I mean, I've seen so many different companies, just around have takeovers, have different people that come in and acquire them, new management, everything. And that's always going to happen in life. And so I feel like there's only certain things that we can control, and so that is out of our control. But I can control the way I react to it. I can control the environment. I just controlled. I had a great breakfast. I have a beautiful home life. I'm looking at my beautiful garden. So there's so many things that I can control. I'm going to focus on those things. And in life, so many things are out of our control. So it's a choice, I think, for individuals to focus on things. I mean, life is very stressful, I find, for everybody. I don't know anybody that doesn't have a stressful life. Maybe they're on an island somewhere, but in general, life is very stressful. So what is the best thing for, for us in general? Well, it's to choose to focus on the things that we can control, and the things that we can't control. I mean, if we focus on those, then Linda was just referring to, it's difficult not to look at the positive. Well, it depends on where you put your energy and your focus. So if you want to focus on all the downside of life, and this situation in particular, then it's going to, the only person that's really going to hurt is yourself more than anybody else. And you can help yourself by changing or influencing even just what you're going to put into your mind at any given moment. Read a book, go for a walk, do other things, do your work, spend more time with loved ones. Like, just change the focus for now until everything settles down. There's every single company that goes through various changes, aggressive changes. There's always going to be shifts. And I always think there might be even some things that might surprise us that we could look forward to in the future. So they're just some of my opening thoughts on this discussion, Bobby.
Awesome. Thanks, Indra. And yeah, I mean, obviously, there's always a way to find the positive, make things work for yourself. And so for me, I mean, yeah, I find that being able to advocate for others, now that I have influence on this platform, I can advocate for other people. And so for me, I think that's really huge. I talk a lot about, the school system here in Ontario, Canada, where I live. And so I often talk about that. And I also, the other, I love Twitter also because of the creative expression I have. The things I talk about here, I could talk, I mean, I talk about things on LinkedIn and Facebook, but I don't talk about everything there. I talk about everything here, which I think is really great. And I see people's hands are up, but I do kind of want to go in order of people who arrived first. Clinton, if you have something specific to say what Indra said, then you can go ahead. Otherwise, I want to go down the order and get Linda to speak. So, Clinton, what's your take here?
Yeah, thanks a lot, Bobby, for bringing me in your Twitter space. Appreciate this. Look, I generally agree that for people that are currently on Twitter, that it's important for them to remain on Twitter. And when I say important, I'm not trying to sound delusional, but from the perspective of communication, of building relationships, of trying to make the world a better place. So that part is very important, obviously. The flip side to some of these worries or concerns is that, and I won't get into specifics, but there have been some moments over the last couple of days where Mr. Musk, and I'm a big fan of Elon Musk, a proponent of some of his projects like Tesla, like SpaceX, like the Boring Company. But I am a little bit worried or concerned after, and I'm a Canadian, for those of you wondering, I'm not an American, but when the Speaker of the United States home was broken into, Nancy Pelosi, and her husband was savagely beaten with a hammer, I am a little bit worried that Elon used his Twitter profile to essentially spread misinformation, innuendo, and rumors. And I do consider that worrisome because there's always that worry that is the platform going to be used for misinformation campaigns. And so saying that, that's why I think it's important for people like Bobby, for people like Linda, for everyone here to really stay involved in the Twitter discussions and Twitter spaces, so that it continues to remain a place of mainstream voices, as opposed to voices that we find in the darkest corners of the web. So I'll just place myself on mute, and thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak.
Yeah, thanks for that. And I guess that reminds me, I should probably say that a full disclosure, I'm not a fan of Elon Musk. But I think that's more that I'm not a fan typically of billionaires. I mean, there's some that I think are doing some good things, but I'm very focused on those. There's a lot of people who are in power and privilege that often rub me the wrong way and do things that I think that are they once they get to that status and power, they do everything they can to keep that power. So for me, I'm more trying to help focus on the marginalized, the vulnerable, and the small voices. So I'll be full disclosure about that. That's fine. I also think that I've seen enough behaviors from him and others that suggest that there's reason for concern. But I'm still staying because I think that there's a lot for us to do here for those who are on Twitter, no matter what level you're at. I want to go to Linda. I want to make sure Linda has a chance to share her thoughts. I mean, you've heard a bit of what I've said and what Idris said and some other people have said. Tell me a bit more about what you're thinking.
Thank you. Well, I agree with a little bit of everything y'all have said, just to kind of put it in one big bucket. I think Clint brings up some good points about being concerned. Indra brings up excellent points of choosing what to pay attention to. Bobby, you talk about the platform, and I've been on Twitter since '09. My other account was a business I no longer own, so I lost that privilege of having that account. But I started the account, I managed the account from 2009 to 2017, and so I had to start all over again. And I'm not leaving Twitter. I love Twitter, but I think this is a reminder for anyone who engages in marketing and values the power of marketing that, Twitter, just like Facebook and Instagram and YouTube, they're all rented land. And you want to start thinking about how you can convert some of your true fans to your email newsletter list so that you have access to that all the time, no matter what happens in the future. I also think, there is a lot of noise, and Elon Musk with his, money and power and all that. I'd like to think it's I'm sure it's not going to happen. I have no idea, but I'd like to think a community can be louder than one person. But then again, it's the money talks, right? But we also have to think about other platforms that have had the divisiveness, and Facebook, and who's on Facebook anymore and enjoying it, or who's still using it to the power that it once had. So I have a lot of thoughts, but they're not fully formed because I've not really paid too much attention to everything Elon Musk is doing in great detail. Probably because of, Bobby, what you said about billionaires, and I don't really know, but all I know is that I'm going to take the chance and make my choice to stick around and see what happens and ignore what I have to ignore that doesn't bring joy to my life. So that's what I have to say about that.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And the one thing I'll add is that another. I mean, again, there's lots of angles to get into, which that I want to talk about. But one of the things that comes into play is the what will he do? I mean, I think that a lot of people will come in, a lot of people, owners, and big people who have influence and power come in, and they try to make their dent, and then they eventually realize that they can't really do as much as they want to, and they move on and do other things. And so I think there will be some impact. I think there will be some negative impact, but I think eventually he will get distracted and move on to doing something else because this has been occupying his mind quite a bit. And I see, yeah, go ahead, Linda.
Oh, I just want to say also, just before I hopped on here, there was somebody who's very influential in the marketing space, and she tweeted that she already is seeing a change. And people started asking, some were like, what change? What's going on? What's happening? And some were others were like, I haven't seen anything. What have you seen? So, it's just a matter of where you put your energy and your focus is what will exist in your life. So whatever that saying is, energy goes where attention flows, or vice versa, whatever it is.
Yeah, I mean, the one change right now is I can tell you that I'm losing followers, right? So I think in the last week or so, I've lost about 3,000 followers. But I don't focus too much on that. I mean, it could be bots, it could be people who are leaving, it could be who knows what it is. But I'm just going to not worry about that. I'm going to continue to focus on the people who do follow me, and I'm going to focus on creating great content for them. I'm going to focus on helping amplify voices. That's what I'm going to do. And again, people have come on stage. I know it's a really great topic, but I really want to make sure that Cautious Optimist, which is a fantastic title for this room, I'd love to have you speak and share your thoughts. So welcome to the stage and go ahead. Are you there, Cautious Optimist? Okay, maybe she's not able to speak. Off, Mamoya, you there?
Hello?
Hi, yeah, go ahead.
Hi, thanks for the floor. Well, I'm of mixed feelings really because okay, just for some background, I am more in the humanitarian space, and so that's where I work. And we use Twitter a lot to reach out to donors, to give updates on what's happening, and to raise funds for humanitarian crisis. So it's really been an effective platform for us. And yes, I'm following the takeover by Elon Musk and all. I am not quite sure what the implications are. Like everybody, I'm watching the space for details. But I agree with you and most of the people who've spoken so far that, let's stay on Twitter. It's got its benefits. Let's use the benefits to our end while monitoring the situation. Thanks. Over to you.
Yeah, and I'm glad you're speaking on behalf of, like a nonprofit or a grassroots organization. I think that's really important because I think a lot. You may want to mute yourself. I'm going to mute you.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, it's just been noisy. Yeah, so I think that there's again, one of the reasons why Twitter is so great compared to other platforms is that I've seen a lot of grassroots organizations and social causes and whatever it might be get incredible traction and amplification on this platform versus anything else. Having virality on YouTube or Instagram or TikTok or LinkedIn, for example, is much, much harder. You can still do it, absolutely, but I think that the people who are putting some really great voices on this platform are able to actually reach a lot of people, whether it's through people retweeting them and find that message powerful, but even the hashtag strategies here go a long way to getting your message out there. So I think that's a really important piece. And the other thing that Linda brought up about the divisiveness, divisiveness is everywhere. Although I would say Twitter has always been the worst and Facebook second, although Facebook caught up quite a bit. But, part of it's how we curate our audiences. Facebook's really my family and friends, the people that I know, and Twitter is anybody, and LinkedIn are my professional connections. So it's a different groups of people on these different platforms, but I find there's divisiveness in all places. how we navigate that divisiveness, how we manage ourselves, how we manage our mindset. If you look at my pinned tweet, that's a big part of who I am. Now, there's other people on here who are very angry, and they have some of them have a right to be, and some of them have no right to be. But they're out here spewing their stuff and sharing their stuff, and I think that I'm all for freedom of speech up to a point. I think that obviously, I certainly believe in consequences for irresponsible actions. I think that's important too. Let's go to a couple hands up here. Aaron, were you? I'll let Aaron go, then I'll go to Thomas. Aaron, go ahead.
Hey, thanks so much for having me. See, I have Twitter just, because I have some friends that are overseas and that's how we keep in contact. Since Elon Musk has bought Twitter, there's been a rise in anti-Semitic, homophobic, racist statements. And, these people get to keep their platforms, especially if they're politicians, if they're somebody that's got a blue check mark by their name, they get a free pass. But if it's somebody like me, or I'm just going to say Linda, just for an example, we would have our accounts banned. So I don't understand why, he reinstated Kanye West, and for him to say, well, I'm going to do a moderation group. The moderation beforehand didn't work. What makes you think it's going to work now? And also, to me, it's almost not worth it because of so much hate that's on this app. Because, with Paul Pelosi being attacked, people want to say, oh, well, he had a lover, he had that. It doesn't matter who that was. It was still hatred, and people are spreading false misinformation, which is a very dangerous thing. And Twitter has become a very epicenter of misinformation without any consequences for people's actions. And that's all I have to say.
Yeah, thanks for that, Aaron. And you brought up a lot of really interesting points. I'm gonna address the misinformation piece, which again, this is something that's everywhere. Okay, so misinformation on Twitter, misinformation on Facebook, misinformation on LinkedIn, misinformation on websites and blog posts and whatever that might be. And I think that given the social media age and the information age, we are in a very difficult situation where misinformation is everywhere. And so it's important for us to learn how to navigate that, to leverage our critical thinking skills, and also educate young people as they grow up through the education system to be able to navigate that. Because I think this is the new world we have. And it's actually kind of ridiculous. Now when you see some conspiracy theories, it's just things that are made up with no evidence, and people still believe it. There was an article just this morning on the news I heard about how school boards had to send letters to parents to say, no, we do not put kitty litter in our bathrooms because kids are saying they are now cats. But what's crazy is that these school boards now feel like they have to message parents about these things. So given that divisiveness is everywhere, and given that misinformation is everywhere, to me that's a separate issue from Elon Musk. I think Elon Musk adds to it. I think he's a problem. He's certainly adding to it, and I think that yes, there is. I've seen articles about the more racism. There's more divisive voices on this platform potentially, and that's a problem with all platforms. But at the same time, that also compels me to say that that's another reason why we got to stay. We got to call it out and fight for it and amplify it and let people know, because here I find on Twitter we're way more able to let people know about these things than other platforms. I mean, I have influence on LinkedIn and I have influence on Instagram, but whenever I advocate there or I talk about things or I say things, it doesn't get amplified. People don't hear it, but on Twitter, I'm able to do that. And I'm also able to amplify other people's voices there. And so, or here, sorry. So I think that's really important for us to keep calling it out and keep being united as a group that calls out and asks for greater understanding and correct information and citing evidence and all the different things that we want to do that will make this space a better space. I understand the challenge of that, and I think it's just awful to bring some divisive voices back. But I think that it's more important for us to recognize that's happening and to call that out and be united in trying to fight together those things that we're trying to do. So that's kind of where my head's at on that.
If I could
Aaron,
say one more
yeah,
quick
go ahead,
thing.
Aaron.
But Bobby, you would never spread misinformation, and and I'm thankful for that. But it's just, how can I trust Twitter when the now CEO has already spread misinformation? It's like, why should we trust him? And what's next? Or is he going to appoint Marjorie Taylor Greene, somebody like that, to the moderator board?
Well, first off, I don't trust Elon Musk, and you don't either. I understand that. I don't trust Mark Zuckerberg either. But I'm using WhatsApp, I'm using Instagram, I'm using Facebook. I don't really know the LinkedIn who LinkedIn or who owns it, but I've been using it for a while. So yeah, you're right. We could throw in the kitchen sink and bring in all the things that he could or might do. But to me, the question is, what are we going to do about it? Right? Are we going to run away and delete our accounts? Are we going to continue to call it out? Are we going to make collaborations and partnerships and work with people like Indra and Linda to call this stuff out? To me, I'd rather do that. And yeah, misinformation is everywhere. So I'll post stuff on Facebook to my friends, and I'll post stuff on LinkedIn to my professional colleagues, and I'll post stuff on Twitter to let people know what's going on. But the truth is, on Twitter, I have greater success in reaching more people, and I'm also able to help other people reach people with more information. So yeah, I totally understand that. Let's go to Jocelyn. You put your hand up. I'd love to hear what you have to say about this. Jocelyn, you there?
Oh, okay. Hi.
And
Yeah.
sorry, Thomas. I'll get to you right next. Jocelyn, go first, then Thomas.
Oh, yeah. So again, so real quick though, I just wanted to know if anyone had heard about Elon Musk charging like $20 a month for verification subscription, which I think is like outrageous because I honestly can't afford that. And yeah, when I first heard about Elon buying Twitter, I was personally astounded by the fact that 80% of the accounts on Twitter are either bots or fake accounts, but apparently nobody else is surprised by this fact. And real quick about me is like, yeah, I started doing stand up sitting down on Clubhouse, which is another social audio platform. And just to reiterate what you said, yeah, um, it's for me as an entertainer, yeah, the power of networking and connecting with people, like that'll never go away. And it's just up to us to do our due diligence to just further our information that we know is right and versus like falling into the web of like lies that some people portray. But yeah, we just have to keep showing up and not let the big people with all the money win, I guess. Yeah, that's all I'll just say right now. I thought you were going to go to Shabazz first, but thank you.
Thanks, Jocelyn. I just want to clarify. I mean, the number of bots on Twitter has not really been verified. So you may hear numbers that are high or low, but we don't know actually the actual numbers. So just be clear on that. And I often will go through my followers too to see what kind of numbers I have that are fake or real. And last time I did it was I have 94% were real and the other 6% were not. But that's kind of a natural part of the platform. In terms of the payment thing, yes, I heard about the payment thing, which was what. And so if you look in the nest above, I put in 3 tweets, 3 polls I did. One poll was, are you going to leave Twitter because of Elon Musk owning it? And right now it's 5% yes, 46% no, 25% not sure, 24% depends. Then we have another one, which is if Twitter wants you to pay for some services, will you do it? Again, 10% said yes, 81% said no. And then finally, the other one is what is the best value get from Twitter? Because I want to let people know about that. 8% said say what I want, 79% the latest info on anything, 9% to amplify voices, and then other people were replying to different things. The reason I bring that up is because there is a lot of great things happening with Twitter that you can get. So there's lots of great things you get out of Twitter, absolutely. And then would you pay for those services? Because again, we talked about the fact that we use Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, and these are free tools. But you need to start creating. If as a business owner, you need to create stuff on your own platforms. It's still much harder and doesn't go as well because only people who subscribe will see it. And even though people, are talking about running to this new platform, the new Twitter, I think fine, you can do that, but you're going to get far lesser results than you are on Twitter because Twitter has so many millions of people on it. Whereas similar to what happened, the people like who follow Trump went to Truth Social. Like, yeah, great, he's on Truth Social, just talking to his choir, good for him. But that's not really the same thing, right? It's not. Twitter is the place where everyone's globally here. So that's something that we have to keep in mind. Now, would I pay for services on this platform? Well, given where I am at with my 500,000 followers and my blue check mark, I probably will have to, right? Because I want to keep it. Now, it depends on how outrageous it is. I mean, right now we already have the super follow platform. We also have the subscription services here and on Instagram. So I think it's a natural evolution of social media platforms that they will do things like that. So, but I understand, but it's a problem because a lot of people can't afford it. I think they'll probably have some sort of here's like right now they'll have a free version, and now they have the blue Twitter, and they have the there's there's things that they have. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes, and that's again that's part of the discussion of what we're having today. Thomas, I know you've been waiting. Sorry, please go ahead.
Yeah, so as I was reflecting, I think there are like more like 2 points. I would say why to use Twitter, and number one is pretty much this. And the reason why I mention this is because pretty much on other platforms, LinkedIn included, it's more like what the algorithm is proposing you, especially on TikTok. But I'm not going to dive into that. But going back into Twitter, the nice part is that you can, let's say, create a list of people working for this company that you want to network with, and you can pretty much like focus on the list. You can like ignore the rest. And I think the reason why it's great is because it allows you to like make it more like decisive and more focused. But then the point number two is open API access and pretty much how much you can like leverage the data that's out there. And another thing that's interesting to go and what is going to change is how much it's going to change under Elon, but I'm not going to go for that either. But now the reason why I don't like Twitter as much is because how US centric is the main line of Twitter and basically the main communication on Twitter. And I think that's one of the issues with Twitter, especially if you talk about marginalizing voices. And the reason why is because especially in places like Africa. I would like to hear more from like people from Africa about the issues because the conversations are so much US centric and because pretty much, especially now, even around like what is happening with Elon, but how Elon is affecting the rest of the world, where I mean that's not much heard about. So my issue is that the conversation on Twitter is so much US centric that this one thing I would like to like change at least to some extent.
Although, I mean, I would counter by saying that I've seen a lot of really amazing voices show up in my spaces from Africa to share what they're doing and what they're working on. I've also seen Twitter Spaces that are creating great conversations from places far away or underdeveloped. So I think that's another good reason why Twitter is great. In fact, when you think of audio rooms like this one. Actually, Twitter Spaces is now my favorite place. Like I do LinkedIn Audio Tuesdays and Thursdays. I do Clubhouse on Mondays and Saturdays. But I love Twitter Spaces for the conversations and the type of people who show up to these things. So that to me is a huge benefit. Indra, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to chime in on that comment, and the pretty much the people that chime in, the majority to the Positivity Vibe Tribe spaces, like there's the one at Wednesday, which is 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and on Thursday at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, are from India and Africa and Arab countries. So we get a lot of international people, and it's really wonderful to have those voices and to hear the different aspects from coming from the different places in around the globe. So, and the other thing is, we really welcome the more different voices, the more different perspectives is just amazing in any topic at all. So just when you mentioned that, a lot of people know that they can join our spaces, and the thing is that I noticed that a lot of them are kind of timid at first because they're saying, look, I don't know if you can understand me. And I always try to jump in there, or one of the co hosts, and always say, no, we can hear you clearly. Please go ahead and keep sharing and speak. And, this is amazing. And we actually invite people. We encourage them, like, if you've never spoken in a space before, this is the place for you. And I think that's why we do get so many amazing voices in there.
Isn't it fun to use the voices? I love this. It's so fun. So, so did you know that Twitter Space now have these sound effects? And so that's my first time using it. That was kind of exciting. Let's see. Mohit's up on now. So Mohit, good to see you. How are you? And please go ahead and share your thoughts.
Bobby, thank you so much. You're obviously somebody who knows how to build community, and you've done so for your entire career. And whenever I see your stuff, I get inspired to at least understand that I'm on the right path. So, from a distance, I'm always cheering you on. And I'm here with you today. And so, two of the things I wanted to mention very quickly is that I'm really concerned about the archive of Twitter and the legacy associated with what Elon has controls over now. I'm concerned about how many of us have been able to help build this platform for our own perspectives, but at the same time left such a large digital footprint of the history of the world. And I don't know where that goes, because I don't think many people assume that it would, eventually be in one person's hands. And the second thing I wanted to note, based on the international conversation, is that let's not forget that many countries have Twitter users that are sort of on the DL, that are some of the only ways that their news can actually spread around their country. I know Nigeria just had a big debate about using Twitter to share news of the country. So I think those are the things that I'm concerned about personally from that point of view. But I also want to ask you a question very quickly, because of the respect I have for you. What do you tell the 21-year-old that has all of these options in front of them to build their own audience, etc.? Do you tell them to even start on Twitter at this point, or do you tell them run for the hills?
Good question. Well, a big part of it depends on their objective. Like, are they trying to build a movement around something grassroots or social justice or political that's representing their country? Then Twitter for sure, because it is, as I said before in the beginning, I think one of the main reasons I'm here, the reason why we should stay, is because the best way to amplify small, marginalized, and vulnerable voices is on Twitter. It's better here than anywhere else, even with the divisiveness, even all the crap, even all the concerns we have. It is the best place to amplify that voice. And so I think that is really, really huge. Now, if they want to build a career, well, then I'd probably say go and start on LinkedIn, right? So it really depends on their objective, right? What's their objective to grow? That to me is the first thing. So based on what their objective is and how much time they have, if they have a lot of time in their hands, let's say they have 10 hours a week, then you could do LinkedIn combined with Instagram and Twitter, and that's fine too. But for me, my two favorite places for building thought leadership and influence and driving important conversations of our world, to me, it's Twitter and LinkedIn. That's the places. I used to do on Facebook a lot, but the problem with Facebook is that the algorithm, first off, the Facebook is only just my friends. So that's kind of how the audience I've curated. But also Facebook has, whenever I do a post that's political now or social justice, it gets like zero reach. I get, what is it? Crickets. That's what I get. So when I do a post on Facebook, that's what I get. I get crickets. See, I'm using the sound effects now. I get really, really bad traction on things. Whereas I did a really big political thread here. We had an election here in Ontario, and it was one of my best tweet threads I ever got. 360,000 views on that. I did the same thing on Facebook, and 6 people liked it because nobody wanted to talk, or I guess it didn't want to show it to people on the platform. So for me, yes, I would tell them to, depending on their objective, you could start on LinkedIn or Twitter or both, but that really depends on what they're trying to do. And I do appreciate your concerns. And again, I'm glad you mentioned the whole idea. And Mo, you're invited up here anytime, man. Like, I've known you for years. We have a whole history going back into the comedy circuit of Toronto. So you're
Oh,
always
Bobby,
welcome.
trust me. I cheer you on. I do. I know what you're doing is the groundwork for a lot of the future. You've stuck to this in a big way, and I really do appreciate the communities that you build, and I benefit from knowing you. So I do appreciate that.
Yeah, same here, man. And I'm glad that you're here, and you're welcome to come anytime, because I think it'd be fun to have you maybe do something together. You never know. I want to make sure that people are heard, so let's go to Clinton, then we'll go to Thomas. Clinton, go ahead.
Thanks, Bobby. Yeah, I agree with most of the points that you made. I do think it's important for everyone in this space and to share not only here, but with their friends and community members and things of that nature, that if you're looking to become a social community thought leader, not for ego reasons, but purely to, sort of help improve your community, your society, your country, what have you. It is important to remain on Twitter as well as LinkedIn as well. I do think LinkedIn is a really important tool, and I agree with you that Facebook. Um, Look, I mean, I view Facebook as essentially poison. I don't see any real value in Facebook at all. But I do agree that Twitter and LinkedIn, very, very important tools. And it is important to, like, just use my own personal experience with it. I've written numerous stories for the City News Radio Network, Medium, the Ottawa Hill Times, the Centertown Buzz, Troy Media, and other publications across Canada that would have received zero attention if it wasn't for the hashtags that Twitter has. And so I agree with you that the hashtagging in particular can be a very powerful tool. And you're right that you can create Twitter threads and sometimes video content that can be viewed by tens of thousands of people, depending on what the subject matter is and the timing of the subject matter, and so on and so forth. So I agree with all of that. Um, and just to keep the conversation sort of balanced on both sides of it, I do think that there are some worries. I know, look, I followed Elon quite closely in recent years. He does seem to have an addiction to subscription-based services. So whether that's subscription-based services in his electric vehicles, one of my concerns is that could potentially spill over, into the Twitter space. So we've talked about a little bit already about blue check marks. Not that that matters to me. I've never received a blue check mark, but for some people that's really important. And so then the problem becomes, well, what is next? Will Elon ask people to pay a subscription service in order to upload video content to Twitter? Or will the video content be reduced, say, to 30 seconds? And if you want to maintain 2 minutes and 20 seconds, then you have to pay so much per month. So those are some of the things that we need to watch. But I do agree with you that it's better for people to stay in the platform and to shine daylight, to shine sunlight in places where there is no light, in places where it's dark. And the more sunlight that we shine, then the more likely it is for the platform to continue the way that it had been moving up until the recent sale and purchase. And so if we can keep that moving, that's great news. And then lastly, someone had mentioned speakers from other parts of the world. I think that Twitter has done a magnificent job with Twitter live spaces, which we're in right now. And I have taken part I've been invited as a guest speaker and taken part in discussions that I never would have had an opportunity to in other parts of the world if it wasn't for Twitter live spaces. And I mean specifically political and social disruption issues in the continent of Africa, specific topics related to Afghanistan and Pakistan, as well as some interesting topics between relations between India and China. And so for all of those different reasons, I do think that it's better to remain on Twitter. And the reason, and lastly, I'll say, uh, if good people who mean well, who do their homework, if those people leave Twitter, it will be filled with a vacuum of what I like to call society troublemakers. And that will not benefit or help anybody, either in economics, in social justice issues, in politics, in the general marketplace. And so it's very, very important for people to continue to play an active role and to use live Twitter spaces like the one that Bobby's hosting today in order to find ways for us to come together as individuals, to form a group when it's needed, and to share best practices in order to then go back to our individual Twitter profiles and other formats, whether it's LinkedIn or some other places, and keep that movement going in the right direction. So I just want to say thank you, Bobby, for giving me this opportunity. It's been wonderful.
Thanks for that. And I just want to clarify that you may not like Facebook, but I don't really get Snapchat, but I know lots of people who use Snapchat and they love it. And I love Facebook because I'm connected to my family, my friends, and so for me, I use Facebook to share photos of my kids. I watch lots of photos of babies and children and Halloween photos this morning, and weddings and all that kind of stuff. So for me, that's where the value is. But everyone has value in different platforms, and then they don't find some value in some platforms. I know people who use Snapchat and Pinterest with great enthusiasm, but I don't use them at all. So that's just one thing I will say. And I'm glad you're still banging the gong on why we need to be here, because if we don't be here, they win, they'll take over, and that's not good, because this is. And the other thing for me that comes up is like, I was concerned because I don't like the idea of one person owning such a large mass global, media space, because, I mean, at least Facebook, as much as I dislike Zuckerberg, has shareholders, right? So at least there's something there, which I prefer. And same with LinkedIn. But if Bezos, buys the metaverse, and then let's say Warren Buffett buys LinkedIn, yeah, I think that's a problem. It's a huge problem in terms of bias and information and accessibility and all the things that are going on. And the other thing I'll say is, with your subscription piece that you mentioned, yes, I expect that. I would predict that there will be some sort of. I mean, there already is subscription stuff here on Twitter with the Twitter Blue and the things you can, the super follows and whatnot. But I think there will be more options, because in the end of the day, like corporations and billionaires in particular, the reason why they're big corporations and they're billionaires is because they focus always on profitability, which always trumps people. So I think that that's going to be an issue that we're going to see. So I think that's a big concern as well, and I appreciate you sharing that. Thomas, go ahead with your thoughts.
Yeah, I just wanted to first go a bit back to what you were saying about Twitter, because I think one issue about Twitter is that, yes, I have seen and I have talked with people from places like Africa and India on spaces, but also one of the complaints that I have seen as well is that, yes, pretty much there are people from those places on spaces, but then when it comes to programs like basically programs for spaces, it turns out that those people aren't like first class citizens. So I would say it goes back to the definition of the marginalized voices, because by the word marginalized, it doesn't mean that there aren't people from those places. It means that those people aren't first class citizens. And the status of first class citizen on Twitter is something that I have been like thinking about, and especially in the context of verification, because the issue is that you can get the badge, but I mean, there are many ways to verify people, and one way is to like pretty much use like a card to verify people. So I was still like banging my head, because the issue is that basically just by having a transaction, you can already verify people. By verifying phone, you can already verify people. So the question is, why it's so much like focus on verification of blue badges if we want to verify people as humans? Like why it's so much like talk? Because I think one of the issues that basically, if Twitter wants to just like verify users are you a real user, then there are many ways, but Twitter is not doing it. So I was just like thinking, basically, what's the point of the blue badge on Twitter? And I think this question is kind of like important in the context of like not who is using Twitter, but who is first class citizen on Twitter.
Well, I mean, as a blue badge person, or a checkmark person, I can talk about that. I mean, a lot of people say, well, I wouldn't want it, or do I want it? I mean, every single thing that we have on digital media is an asset, right? My followership is an asset. Um, the things that are in my newsletter is an asset. It's a tool I use. Same with the stuff I have on LinkedIn and whatnot. So, followers certainly are a helpful asset. So is the blue badge. It's a helpful asset. I mean, I don't have it on other platforms. I don't know why Instagram doesn't verify me or LinkedIn doesn't verify me. And there's also there's also brand equity in that just like I have 5 TEDx talks. There's brand equity in my TEDx talks because people see me as a storyteller, as a speaker, as someone who can share ideas. So there's branding there that helps me. Same with the blue check mark. It's branding. It helps with the branding. So that's why, to me, there is value in that. And if I had to pay for it, I probably would pay up to a certain amount because I'd want to maintain that. So I mean that's just again, all these things we have are just tools and assets that we have as part of our overall thought leadership brand, which is something I like to talk a lot about out there. And yeah, I mean, there's so many different avenues we can go down to talk about this. I mean, the payment thing I think is an interesting angle for sure. I'm trying to get IFO up here, but it doesn't seem to work. I'm not sure why. If you are enjoying this discussion, again, we'd love to have more people hear this, be part of the replay of the recording. If you actually click on the button on top there, you can actually, if you can retweet the stuff in the nest, all the polls that I did. You can retweet the first piece where I get people to try to join the room. But I'd love for you to DM people. I'd love for you to click the arrow button above. What you could do is you could also share an insight. You could say, hey, Indra said this, and Bobby said this, and Linda said this, and here's something I'm learning from this room. Tag me, and then I'll retweet to all my followers, and we get more people in this room because I think it's such a powerful discussion about, and I'm on a mission now to convince everybody to please stay on Twitter and to really, share your knowledge, share your voice, amplify others. Let the people who are, that have small voices or small followers or are marginalized or vulnerable have their voice heard. So I think that's really important to me, and that I'm always going to be fighting for that. Jocelyn, you put your hand up a couple times. So you want to say something? Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, just to tie in with the title of your space, because I can't help but just default to this because I initially came onto Twitter Spaces, yes, to like spread my voice, to share my comedy, and really just to bring some type of comic relief to whoever I found on here, especially the whole NFT crypto Web3 community, because obviously, from my point of view, they're just desperately trying really hard to work together to keep what they started alive and going and thriving and whatnot. But yeah, it's a really tough community or ecosystem that they're dealing with. And it's just interesting because I read your title, Why Should Stay on Twitter Despite Elon Musk. It's almost just like in my head, I'm thinking like it's why I continue to show up, even though trigger warning, I get bullied on Twitter Spaces when I'm just trying to be funny and just be comedic. And it's unfortunate that hurt people, and yeah, like at least in the beginning, people were just not. It's interesting how people are completely receptive to the idea, like, oh my god, a stand-up comedian, yes, please give us jokes, we want to laugh. But every now and then there's just one person who just wants to, like, what's the word, be the Debbie Downer. And it would be one thing if I would let that one person stop me, and I don't. And if anything, like you said, you just got to keep coming back, keep exercising your voice, keep speaking out, keep sharing your jokes. And I get it. But the thing about it is, like, people need to learn there's a difference between telling a comedian that, hey, I didn't find that funny, versus telling them you're not funny. You know what I mean? There's a key difference there. And ultimately, again, this is one of my jokes. It's like, I'm not going to ever assume that anyone on an international social audio only app knows how to read or write or speak English like fluently or well. And so I think at the end of the day, we just need to keep communicating so people learn how to communicate better, because by that we'll be better humans. And ultimately, my goal, I mean, my initial goal is to actually go on tour, where it was like from Clubhouse to your house, and now it's sounding more like from Twitter Space to your place, and really get people excited to get outside, touch grass, as they say, and like really experience the world that we have, because again, our time here is limited and there's only so much. And we want people, I want people to get out of their caves and see the sunlight in essence. So yeah, that's all I just wanted to share or say. Thanks, Bobby.
Yeah, Jocelyn, thanks so much for that, and I do appreciate that. You're sharing your comedy. We need more comedy. We need more laughs and laughter on this platform, and I also resonate with the fact that I've been bullied on this platform multiple times. I just have, because I put stuff out there and I share things, and so are you. Like, I had this one person just going after me
Bobby, I
about.
can't hear you.
Oh, you can't hear me? Can anyone else hear me?
I can hear you, Bobby.
Yeah, I can hear you.
I
Okay,
can hear you too.
Something like that.
okay. People can
First
hear
world
me.
problems.
Okay, people can hear me, so I appreciate that. Yeah, so I was bullied. This person was just commenting about me being fat and overweight and just kept going after me. It was crazy. But what I can tell you is that, I mean, again, I'm going to use the Indra positivity vibe here, but the training I've had on Twitter to work up my empathy muscle and to be able to navigate that And now when I go to Facebook and LinkedIn and I deal with trolls there, I can actually handle it better. Doesn't mean that it doesn't hurt. It doesn't mean it doesn't cause me some sort of emotional impact, but I'm showing a lot better and stronger than I used to be, having dealt with that. So, you know, Kanye's back. Let's say the former president is back. How much will that impact us? I mean, the truth is, there's still a lot of divisive people that talk shit to me all the time on my platform, and one of the reasons why I still try to stay, I'm more like Indra. I try to tweet in a thoughtful manner. I rarely rant or like say stuff. I just retweeted this thing, that like Jimmy Kimmel, for example, called Elon Musk a piece of shit for something he did, the Pelosi conspiracy theory stuff, right? Now, I retweeted that because I thought it was a funny thing for him to say, and he just did that. But what's interesting to me is that someone will say, "Well, Bobby, what about your pinned tweet where you say you don't name call people?" And it's like, yeah, I know, but sometimes something's funny, I'll post it. Sometimes someone says something, and the message to me and the information to put out there, context. The information is important to put out there, so I think it's good to. I don't mind tweeting stuff like that. I don't do it personally. Like I don't call people names, but that's fine. I mean, I don't mind retweeting things, and so a lot of people will say, "Yeah, Bobby, what about this and what about that?" And I get that all the time. So, but that's part of the game of being on this platform as well as other platforms where you get this. So again, we have to learn how to navigate that and how to deal. We have to educate people on that kind of stuff. I'll tell you another other thing before I get to other people. I have not given my kids a smartphone, nor they have their own social media accounts, and they are 14 and they are 12. And the reason is because I'm trying to protect them from all this shit that's out here, because it's very hard. If we are having trouble as adults dealing with all this stuff, imagine how kids are. I've already seen my daughter's 11-year-old kids at birthday parties traumatized or really struggling to connect to the people because they're always on their phones. I've seen people in my 14-year-olds classes having struggle with having powerful conversations or being able to get involved in leadership because they're so distracted all the time. And so for me, I want my kids to show that they can actually be autonomous, become independent leaders, take action for their lives. And I've given them an opportunity to say, look, if you can prove to me that you can handle at least your laptops, which they do have, that you can control your timeline and not get sucked into things, then yeah, you know what? I'll get you a smartphone, no problem. Let's set some goals. Let's set some reasonable things for you to do. And I mean, eventually I'll get my son a cell phone. The 14-year-old in particular, he's in grade 9 now. But I've a lot of parents keep saying, oh yeah, but I give my kids phones for this and these reasons. I'm like, yeah, it's fine, you do it, but I've already done all the research. There are there's 10 times more negative things that people get from having phones, kids particularly, than having them. So that's my own position. I'm taking that and I'm sticking to it. A lot of people have their hands up, which is kind of exciting. I love that. Linda, I'll let you go ahead. And actually, Linda, go ahead, and then we'll go to IFO.
Okay, I'm just real quick because I wanted to empathize with Jocelyn and maybe Bobby, your next or soon to be next Twitter Spaces could be on. I know it has a negative spin on it, but how to manage the haters and the divisiveness, because it's a real thing. When Trevor and I started our YouTube channel and it took off in 2020, 2021, because we were talking about the disaster financing through the SBA for small business owners all across the country. And we were very much present with providing how to get the loan approved. And we were the only people in the space doing live streaming to answer live questions on how to get the loan approved. But so this is what happened. All of a sudden there were these comments and we were like, what? Like, really mean, and all we're trying to do is help people get through the process because it was very grueling. And so like Jocelyn, you're just trying to be funny, and then people are hating on you. We were just trying to, and we got almost $100 million to small businesses throughout the country. So it was kind of like I was busy patting myself on the back and also blocking people on YouTube because they were crazy. So it's a thing.
Yep, absolutely, absolutely. And I have a lot of people who respond to my stuff, and part of the reason why I don't go a little more darker or more ranty because I could, like, given my role as a speaker and given my role in comedy, I could definitely be cutting, and I could be, uh, a shit disturber. But I choose not to be, Jocelyn. I don't want to. I don't want. I already attract enough attention from my posts, so if I start doing that, who knows what's going to happen? Is Ifo still here? Ifo, you've been waiting patiently and trying to get on. Go ahead and speak, please.
Yeah, I am still here. All right. I'm loving the space. I'm loving what's being shared. I just wanted to throw something else in there, which is the need for democratically controlled social media. Um, because we're collectively hanging out in spaces that are controlled by interests that are not necessarily interested in our interest and what's best for our kids and a better world. And so we've been here in spite of the spaces. Same thing as why I'm on Facebook in spite of Facebook. I run a White Fragility decolonization group there because there's people there and we need to talk to those people. But I think ultimately we need to get out of those spaces or at least have our own independent spaces. Which is why I'm making a shout out to May 1st People Link. If you haven't heard of the organization, you should check it out. Democratically run internet, US, Canada, and also doing some stuff in Latin America. And it's internet service that you control because you're a member and you have shared ownership, sort of like a cooperative. And you make decisions about what happens, make decisions about the hosts that get put together, all that good stuff. And it's run because it needs to be done for community. It's not run because people are trying to make a profit. So I think we need more initiatives like that, and we need to spread the word about those kind of things. Because back in the day, I'm almost turning 50. I remember back in the day, most of what we did, whether it was BBSs or other stuff that we did online, it was community based. And now we're all doing everything, even if we're creating community, we're creating it in corporate spaces that are sometimes hostile to us. So I think we need to get back to the roots of decentralization, not just the Web3 nonsense, but I mean real decentralization where the people own it and the people control it and the people run it. And if we do that, we'll have less of those issues. And then we can also still come back into the spaces and remind people where the love is. But right now, we don't have a place to tell those people to go to. So we're dealing with the lesser of, I don't know how many evils there are in the tech space, but you know what I'm saying. But Bobby, I'm loving the stuff that you're sharing. I've been up for like almost 30 hours now because I was figuring out a bug on my code, but I figured it out now, so it's done, and I'm going to sleep soon. But I was about to go to sleep, and I saw your space, so I turned it in, and now I'm here. So anyway, keep it up, and I know C is recorded, which means I can probably go to sleep soon, and I will hear it later. But thank
we
you.
we appreciate you staying up. Thanks so much for that. And I'm gonna. It's an interesting concept you give about these democratically run space. I don't really know what that means or how that works. I mean, my only hesitation or counter argument would be that um, government-run organizations often don't have very good quality of execution. So, to me, that kind of throws me off a little bit. But if people can coordinate and do something really really well together, great. All power to them. A
No,
lot of
actually,
people.
when I said democratically, I wasn't talking necessarily government. I was actually talking people. You should really check out May 1st people.
So do you mean? So you mean more like? Do you mean more like a community base, like a nonprofit type thing? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, May 1st is a international cooperative.
Okay. Okay. Yeah,
So
I understand that. Okay.
yeah,
Yeah,
so
and
it's
there are.
that kind of democracy, not the fake kind
Gotcha.
where
Gotcha.
they
Okay.
tell
So
you to
yeah,
vote for someone. Yeah, but yeah.
absolutely. And I wish Twitter and Facebook and LinkedIn were originally started by nonprofits, but here we are, and they have a huge dominant control. So it's important for us to still be on those platforms and call that stuff out while seeing if we can fit in other things as well. A lot of people have their hands up, but I want to start first with Indra because I know Indra, she fell off and then came back on. I've also made Linda co-host now, so we have more people on stage. Indra, I mean, you've been listening to all this stuff. Anything that you want to maybe share or just pop before I go to Lynn and then Maria and Thomas?
Thanks so much, Bobby. Yeah, I mean, look, there's the great thing about this Twitter platform and having this access to Twitter Spaces is we get to hear so many different viewpoints, and even this new information about community-based internet services and so forth. I mean, this is great. I mean, as you know, I know you're a huge supporter of community-based things. So am I, having my own Positivity Vibe Tribe community. And sorry for the sound if anybody is noticing. I am actually driving to a meeting here. But yeah, no, I think there's been great sharing of information, and I think the main thing is, I mean, I feel like we can all benefit by being on any social media platform, regardless of, the ownership of it. I mean, this is always going to change in any case. It's a moving kind of target with, wherever we are, whether it's, you know, I mean, Facebook has obviously been changing a lot. I mean, all the different platforms, even YouTube, for people that are using YouTube. Instagram has had so many different changes recently. I just feel like we have to be present and share what you're sharing, everybody, because it's really important. It's important to hear all the different voices globally around the world. I mean, we all have things to share, and for your own well-being, just take the good things and take the things that benefit you, and don't take the other things to heart, because you want to lead a happy and joyful and long life regardless of what is out there in the world.
Always bring the positive vibe. I love that about Indra. Let's go to Lynn, then Maria, then Thomas. Lynn, go ahead. Welcome to the stage.
Thank you. I want to tell you, I was so thrilled to see this space when I came on today, because I feel like everybody is just spreading the hate on here right now. And instead of like blocking those people or saying these don't, saying these tweets aren't relative, I just keep doing that, and I'm getting less and less of seeing it on my feed. And I think that if we all band together, that we're going to be and stay, that we're going to drown out those haters. Because if they don't get fed by our engagement, then they're not going to stay, because that's the fun part for them. And I think if we all, I'm the tiny little account, but if we add up all the tiny little accounts trying to spread happiness and positivity and kindness, we'll overtake them. And I think that's really important. And I'm looking forward to more of these spaces, because I really think it's super important, especially in our world right now. It's not just Twitter that's so much hate that's going on, but I believe that if we keep pushing the positive stuff, that it's going to win out. That's what I feel.
Thanks, Lynn, for that. And yes, positive will definitely win out. Love beats hate every time. But the other thing I'll say is that, and you mentioned something about this, you have to call out the shit. Okay? You have to call out the bad stuff. And one of the best things you can do, as soon as I see someone who's spewing tweets that are hateful towards anybody, any group, it doesn't really matter. Women, trans people, people of color, it doesn't matter. Muslims, refugees, I'm making this up, but like lots of people. As soon as I do it, I report the tweet, and I look for other tweets that they have that are doing the exact same thing, and I report them to Twitter. And now sometimes it works and those tweets get muted or reported, and other times it doesn't. It doesn't mean I give up, but if I see it, I report it. Now obviously I can't spend my entire time on this platform doing that, but if you see something, like what's that? There's a famous expression: if you see it, say something, right? And so you can say something. And Indra, any comment on the positivity aspect that Lynn just talked about? Since you love to talk about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I feel like focusing on the positive pieces is again for our well-being. And I mean, Lynn had a great point that we have to just keep going, and there's no reason to leave, because look, there's benefits for you. It doesn't matter what size your account is. Even if you have like 5 people, we can all benefit by staying here and supporting each other. And in the spirit of community, I feel that's important.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for that. Maria, you're next. Go ahead with your thoughts. Maria H. Go
Wow.
ahead.
Yes, I'm here. Wow, you
Hi.
guys. What a great conversation. Really. Um, Bobby, thank you for handing me the mic. I really appreciate a little bit of time here. I'm just going to say a couple of comments because so many of you, I mean, if you're in the audience there and you don't have the mic, you can feel it. You can resonate with so much that we're sharing right here. You don't have to be the one speaking. And so many things that different people said. I want to talk about IFO for just a moment because I loved it when he said, even though we're talking about business quite often and making money, entrepreneurship, the whole Elon Musk thing, show people where the love is. There is love in these rooms too. There is joy. There is nurturing energy out here, and you can find it. Twitter is gigantic. And just like Bobby, you were sharing, you've been bullied. I've been bullied out here too. I never was bullied on social media so much until I got to Twitter, actually. But I've been not allowed in spaces or, just dismissed kind of. But this platform is so large that there are different personalities. And sometimes you can have um, your perception could be a little off, perhaps. And you just end up moving around and find the people that you do resonate with. And there's a place for everybody. I am in circles with people where we're talking about mental health quite often. And I think speaking and communicating is so important. And if you feel bullied here on Twitter or anywhere, it doesn't really help to go hide in a corner. If you step up and you find people and strength, I think we're coming into a time period in our world where we're going to have a pandemic of depression. And I think it's so important to find people that lift you up and find tools that will help you navigate the troubling waters that are coming down the pike. Still, it's just true. And I also wanted to just touch on what Jocelyn was saying, because when I first came into the room here, she was talking about comedy, the need to laugh. I typed into the chat here because Bobby said something about he's a shit stirrer, right? I'm a meditation teacher and I work with kids and stuff. And oh my gosh, if somebody sees me type the word shit, I don't want them to come after me. And the whole bullying thing, just this morning, I saw this guy, he was going around Twitter finding photos of women that were kind of revealing cleavage and stuff, right? So he was all about hunting down the boob shots. And I saw some conversation on it, and he was trying to call them out like they were idiots looking for attention, but he was the pervert that was going around taking the screenshots. So what is wrong with people? It's like when Bobby, you mentioned the thing about your kids and being on social media. We all know just because people are 40, 50 years old doesn't mean they're adults. There are juveniles out here. And the lack of maturity that you can find out here is just astonishing. People blocking each other and talking nasty and taking pictures. It's just, you know, gravitate to the love. That's all I say. That's all I say. Find your people. And Lynn, I'm really proud of you for speaking up in here, by the way. Lynn and I have been making friends elsewhere out here as well. But to all of you, have a great day. Happy Halloween. And thanks for listening.
Boom, I love that. Maria, that was fantastic. I'm so glad you joined us today. So that was really, really lovely. I want to keep going down the list because other people are also waiting to speak. So let's go to Thomas and then Thomas, go ahead.
Yeah, I wanted to go back a bit to what you are saying about kids, and without going personal, what I wanted to say is that what I mean is that basically I think one of the crucial keys to social media is that basically social media weaponizes psychology against you, And I think the key area of that is how like the notification system works. And the reason why is because if you try to disable notification, then on what happens on Twitter is that Twitter stops harassing you to enable notifications again, and you are not getting like the system-wide notifications, but you are getting in-app notifications to enable notifications. And the reason why is because as I was like struggling to find a way to disable my notifications while also being like not harassed from Twitter for enable notifications again, I was also wondering how much it is more weaponized against kids, as because kids don't have like the mechanisms to like defend in any way. So that's why I was thinking that well, it's as hard as this is against adults, and it is as worse as it can get against children. And then I was thinking because people are like, oh, like Facebook is terrible, but the issue is that it's not like Facebook that the worst out there. At least I would say from the Meta ecosystem, it was Instagram because on Facebook at least you have like the basic way of pretty much groups to escape the timeline, but on Instagram there isn't any way pretty much to escape the timeline. You just get the Instagram pretty much. And I was just thinking about all of the cases when Facebook was pretty much covered by like making teen mental health worse, and I was just thinking, well, this is how like psychology is weaponized, and I think this is just to finish, this is like the key issue when people talk are like, oh, internet is not real life, because the issue is that here is the very real psychology weaponized against you.
So let me just say that I think a future topic for me to talk about the power connection is why I am choosing not to give my kids a smartphone uh, at the age that they're at, because I think it's a tough parenting decision, but I made it and I'm sticking to it. Another thing to talk about in a future episode is how to deal with the haters and how to leverage your empathy. And we've done that before actually, but I'm happy to do it again. These are things that I talk about a lot, because I think the world is changing faster than we and our children can keep up with it. And so it's important for us to understand that where we are maybe falling behind. And that's why we're having this discussion. So again, those of you who are here and have participated, I do appreciate your hearing you. I appreciate your voice. I'd love to have you, continue to speak. As an FYI, there are people waiting in line now who can't get on stage. So I'm going to have to remove some of you. I apologize for that. If you want to volunteer to go down the audience, you can. But just an FYI, I might move a few people down so I can bring more people up. And with that, there's more hands up. So let's go to Michelangelo. Welcome, and please go ahead and share your thought.
Hey, Bobby. Hey, group. How you doing? Thanks for having me on. I think that whether we want to leave Twitter or not, if Elon Musk continues on this current course that he's on, I think he'll precipitate Twitter's decline. And based on the past, what we've seen with social media companies, whether it's MySpace, it used to be the hottest thing until Facebook came around. And then Facebook was hot, but it's a little less relevant than it used to be and less profitable. And so I think the same thing will happen with Twitter someday. And I think Elon Musk is precipitating Twitter's decline. And the reason I think he's precipitating it is because if it continues on this current course, I don't see him being a friend of democracy. I think we have to consider the context of our times, and that democracy is in serious jeopardy right now around the world. Elon Musk has basically given Putin's unjustified war on Ukraine a free pass. He has close ties with Putin. Bloomberg came out with a report saying Saudi Arabia is the second largest owner of Twitter after Musk's purchase. And Elon Musk himself is spreading misinformation. And misinformation is a big problem in the USA with election deniers in the 2020 election. And Elon Musk claims to be a champion of free speech, but he has ties with Saudi Arabia and Putin. It's a national security issue. And those nations are no friends of free speech. They repress it. And China is an authoritarian dictatorship. They're a problem too. And I just don't see him being a champion of democracy and actual free speech. He likes to say that he is, but it seems like a talking point to appeal to people who don't know any better. And so I don't see him as a friend of democracy. which is a central issue nowadays amid all these authoritarians and dictatorships around the world that he doesn't really seem to care about. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that, Michelangelo. And, I also believe that billionaires in particular and those with incredible power are certainly not friends of democracy and certainly have influence and friends all over the world that we don't even know about. So I think that you bring up a really, really powerful point. So thanks for sharing that. We're going to continue the discussion here and keep going. I want to thank Linda before she leaves. I know she had to step off the stage, but I really appreciate, and someone had mentioned, was it Lynn, talking about the love on this platform? So let me just share some love, okay? I love my life. I love being on Twitter. I love this community. I really love being here. Indra has been really incredible in the last, couple of months being a co-host for me. I've loved meeting Linda the last couple of sessions, and she shared her thoughts. I think she's really great. I love Samantha Postman, who was, when I first joined Twitter Space in August of the previous year, to help co-host with me for about 6 months, and she was fantastic for that. So I've met a lot of really amazing, wonderful people on this platform. So I have a lot of love for that. And one of the things that too with having kids and also focusing on my empathy is that the more you exercise your muscle, the more your heart grows, and that's why I'm advocating so strongly for the marginalized, the vulnerable, the people who need to amplify their voice, because again, I have a lot of love for those people and what they're dealing with and what they're going through, and so yeah, I think it's good to share love, and if I can create a space here where there's a lot of love and less ranting. I still can rant sometimes. I mean, if Jocelyn's here, I'm going to maybe do one just about comedy and jokes because I'm still wait. I've decided. Here's a little side thing. I've decided to finally join TikTok, but I'm not going to use TikTok for what I thought I was going to do, which was the videos I share on LinkedIn and Instagram and Twitter about business and thought leadership and all the things that I talk about. I think I'm going to use TikTok just to share random, funny, loving things that I think are great, including my kids singing, my son doing Rubik's Cube. I might even sing myself and sing a couple of riffs from Les Mis or something like that, just for fun, because I need an outlet like that where I could just do that. And yeah, I can share them on Twitter and whatnot, but TikTok will be my primary place for doing that. So, anyways, just want to say that. Let's go to is it Kif or Keef? And you can go ahead, and then we'll go to Patty.
Yeah, Kif here. Well, I just wanted to tell everybody, be optimistic about Twitter. Obviously, Elon Musk is in a very neutral position. It's very clear, and we're just here. We're here on this platform, and we have to do what we have to do. Yeah, just be optimistic and be ready. You never know what could happen with Twitter. I don't think Twitter is going anywhere. I think Twitter is gonna stay. I think Twitter is gonna be more competitive now, compared to TikTok, compared to YouTube Shorts and all of the Instagram, obviously. As a Facebook, I don't use Facebook anymore. Facebook, I deleted my Facebook, and I realized Facebook was very, very, very negative compared to other platforms, and I just didn't find a need for it. Um, Also, with Twitter, there's so much going on with Twitter that it's unpredictable. It's exciting. It's exciting. It's unpredictable, and that's what makes it exciting. What's next? What's next with Twitter? Where's Twitter gonna go? Is Twitter are they gonna add a new feature, or is it gonna turn into something greater, or is it gonna be is it just gonna be on a plateau? So I just wanted to just to challenge everybody's minds on that, like food for thought with tweets and the the amount of the amount of access to Twitter. etc., etc. So yeah, if anybody wants to add on to that, they could.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. Appreciate it. And again, I always appreciate all the discussions people have here. I mean, the one thing I will say and add to what you said, or I guess adjust, is for you know everyone's experience is different, right? So the most divisive and trolling behavior I've seen is on Instagram. Sorry, on Twitter, not Facebook. But again, Facebook is a place where I've curated an audience of just my family and friends that I know personally, and so it's been a lot easier for me to navigate that. I've started to see a rise of trolling and negativity on LinkedIn because LinkedIn is becoming far more popular. So I think that is something to say. And then the other thing is that, whenever there's a change in leadership, there are some new ideas that come down the pipeline that are good. So it's possible there might be some good ideas. Do I believe it's going to, people, there's articles saying that, it's Twitter's going to be in a long-term dive or it's going to be a long-term growth. I don't know. I mean, let's just see what happens. But my general take is that when you have more diverse voices that are running something big like this, there's more likely a chance that they'll come up with innovative ideas to grow. Whereas when one person controls it, depending on how good they are, either they'll take it down because they have a couple good ideas, but it's a lot of bad ideas that still go through, or maybe they come up with a whole bunch of good ideas, and that's the risk. So I think that's a bit of a challenge. But I do appreciate you sharing that. I want to keep going, so let's keep going to people who are on stage here. Patty, you're up next. Welcome to the stage, and go ahead and share your thought.
Thank you so much. I am within a group that fights disinformation, and I will be very honest with you. As soon as Elon Musk took over, it seemed like many people were targeted. People with large accounts were targeted, and it was it enabled bad behavior, it seemed. But I do agree with what you're saying in regards to many of us need to try to stay on as long as we can, kind of watch what is happening, be the positive voice. Um, there are bots, there are people that are putting disinformation out there. We are, I guess, in need of people. When it's outrageous, it needs to be reported. I don't agree with, racism and things of that nature being out there and people being attacked for these things. As far as race, gender, just the whole gamut. There are people that are attacking others for who they are. That's just not something that we need to walk away from. We need to be strong. We need to work on um, some. It's disinformation. Some it's just they're passing along information that is not accurate. Some it's they're attacking others. We have ways of helping to limit, uh, what is put out there um, at the moment. I don't know how Musk will allow or not allow this type of behavior in the future. But at the moment, if you report something, it is eventually dealt with if enough people report bad behavior. And then I'm talking about attacks on people, for as I said, being uh, of a different color, being, racist is just, something that we need to report, and I am seeing the political divide as well. And that is something that is driven by particular countries. I know that a couple of people have touched on that, and that is something that we as a community in Twitter can work to help um, educate about these. These are things that um, unwillingly people or unwittingly people pass along information that is sent out, and these are just different things that if we stayed here and we continue to educate and work on, I don't think that it would really matter if Elon Musk was here or not, other than the fact of how he handles reports and how he handles abuses. Um, so just, I guess, hang in there, hang tight, and see what happens. As far as subscriptions go, that would be, I think, something that would maybe be a different story. But as long as it's still free and we have uh, an avenue to go ahead and try to fight um, the wrongs, I think that and keep open communication to where we can possibly bridge gaps, because right now and for those that are in other countries, this is happening in your country as well, not just the United States, but a lot of the propaganda is centered to divide nations. And so if we can find a way to bridge the gaps, have real conversations, find the commonality, it's still, Twitter still has its purposes. And you know, I just don't know how to explain it any better than just hang in and work uh, in positive directions. Thank you.
Yeah, I love that, Patty. That was really amazing, and I'm so glad you joined us today. Gosh, there's so much there I could talk to, but uh, yeah, like we have to stay and fight. And this is the one of the biggest platforms in the world for fighting the good fight, no matter what comes down the pipeline, no matter who's here, no matter what people are saying, no matter what they do, there's a chance for us to amplify voices united here. My pin tweet's all about bridging understanding, because that's how we're going to win by. And again, obviously, there's people that are so far on the other side of the fence from my position that I'm not going to focus on them. I'm going to focus on people who are closer to the fence. I'm gonna try to convince him to come back to the side in terms of where my position is on things. Leadership is about influence. Leadership is about making yourself a better person, and by doing so, making the world a better place too. And so, by doing so, we can actually create far greater impact than we realize. And so that's why, and for those who are struggling, I'm here to help you. Ask for help. There's support. We have this Twitter chat every week, although we don't usually go this long. Today we've gone really long, but it's a really powerful topic. And so, yeah, I think that a lot of what you said really is really powerful. And I hope people stay. I hope people fight. I hope people work to bridge that understanding and have those conversations. I'm on a mission to have those conversations too. That's why I'm having this space. And I love the fact that so many people are here and they're posting about it, they're tweeting about it, and they're sharing the nuggets they're learning from today. So I do appreciate that. Again, people have their hands up again still. So Ifo, then Aaron, then Maria. So Ifo, go ahead.
Hey, yeah, I'm one of those people that also get attacked on these platforms, which is why I'm more cautious on Twitter than I am on some other places, because it's easier to block people or block things in some other platforms than it is on Twitter in some ways. Um, that being said, I didn't realize my hand was still up. But I had posted in the chat and in the Jumbothon a link to May 1st People Link. So if people want to check that out, and see alternatives to even the where you host your website, or even maybe even how you get your internet. There are alternatives. We just need to support them more. And because right now we are the product that Twitter and the other groups are selling to whoever the advertisers are, if they have any left. But but I'm loving the space. Thank you.
Glad to hear. Thank you so much for that. Aaron, go ahead.
Hey, thanks for having me again. Everybody's made a lot of interesting points. Something Maria said really stuck out to me as somebody that suffers from a mental illness, depression mostly. I would like to see Elon Musk and Twitter basically offer, but mental health services for people that for the marginalized communities, for you know Islam, for LGBT, just for anybody that needs it, because with all the hate that is going on this platform, and not just on this platform, but with just all over our country and around the world, I think, we need it now more than ever because we are so divided. And, coming in here, venting, talking about how we feel, I think it's a great step. But, there's maybe some people that may not have that access to express their voice. And I think if Elon Musk really wants to change Twitter for the better, then he should or offer services for people that need it. And that's all I wanted to say.
Yeah, thanks for that. Appreciate it. And it certainly begs the question about if certain people come back to Twitter, how will that affect us? I mean, the long game is this: like, if you curate your tweets and you report tweets you don't want to see, and you don't respond to the people who are trolling, and you focus on the positive interactions you have, and have conversations like we have here in Twitter Spaces, you can curate a strong community for yourself. Now, obviously, I have a lot of followers, and some of them may not be. They might be hurt and in pain and projecting their own emotional experiences and damage what they have. But as long as I handle it with empathy or I ignore them, I can create something that's a more positive experience for me. And I also believe that if some of those people who shall not be named here come back to Twitter, um, I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing. I'm going to keep talking to the right people. I'm going to keep sharing knowledge and trying to be as positive as I can with the people that need the help, and to amplify the voices and the causes and the challenges out there that are going on. Because I think that, to me, is the way to go. And I'm not going to focus my energies on those people who are drawing a lot of negativity. So let's go to Maria and hear what she has to say.
Wow. Well, first of all, Aaron, what a beautiful idea. I mean, I couldn't help but giggle because I can't imagine Elon Musk would provide support. But I'm serious. There are going to be Twitter support groups out here for people. Yes,
It was
it's
just a
just
thought that I had, Maria.
no, no, no. It's a beautiful thought. And I think you're absolutely right. And like what I just said earlier, too, when I'm speaking with people about mental health issues, yes, I want to encourage the positive people to stay their ground, to stay. Because if we all leave, then all the bullies are going to take over and be even stronger. So, having said that, you need to guard your own mental health and your boundaries and your own balance. Don't play the martyr either. The reason I raised my hand, Bobby, is because I absolutely loved what Patty said. I was mesmerized. Every word you spoke, I was like, yes. But that word fight, I don't like that word fight. And Patty and Bobby, you guys both used that. And I know you're passionate about fighting for positive energy kind of thing. But that word itself makes a lot of people uncomfortable. I prefer to think of it as we're projecting. And I love your word, Bobby. A lot of us are using that word amplify. We want to amplify the positive. It's not a fight because that makes people cringe sometimes, especially the good people. Especially as vocal as I am out here, I'm really kind of an introvert, and some would laugh at that. But I think it's being vulnerable, being willing to be vulnerable, to use our voices out here is so commendable. All of you guys, whether you are speaking on this mic or sharing the space or including things in that chat reply feature down on this page, on any of these pages. Keep going. Project love, project positive energy, and you will draw more of it to you. Thank you. That's all I wanted to add.
Thanks for sharing that. And uh, I think everyone chooses words that work for them. So we have to be mindful of that. I think there are people who are oppressed and marginalized who want to use the word fight because it works for them. So we have to be mindful of that too, because we all come from different aspects of power and privilege that affect our lives. But at the same time, yeah, I understand that there's ways. For me, I try to be more empathetic. I try to be more bridging here, and I tend to do less divisive ranting type stuff. But that's kind of the way I'm doing things. Uh, and again, this conversation has been really powerful today. We're nearing the 2 hour mark, so we're going to have to turn this off pretty soon. But I do appreciate everyone being here. And again, more hands are going up. I'm gonna go to Near first. Near, I see your hands up. Why don't you go ahead and say something, and then we'll go to Keith and Ifo.
Okay, thank you so much. So I'm actually, I used to live in Los Angeles for 40 something years, and I live now in Israel, Tel Aviv. And I just wanted to let you know that love and peace and respect to all people, it's the only way to go. And I really, I met so many amazing people from the States. So I want you to know that listening to you, even for the last 5 minutes, because I was in another space, I just want you to know that we must spread love and really look at people like they're our own children and kind of like try to take the anger that, because sometimes I do have anger and I always go, no, I'm going to hug, I'm going to smile, I'm going to kiss, because this is what I'm about. I was born to love. I was not born to hate. And I want you to know that, I was educating for Aveda, for Estee Lauder, for in the United States and Europe for so many years. And I always tell people, if you want to be good in what you do, first love everybody. You're not here to judge anybody. We are here to just spread love. And I'm telling you right now, this is the second time that I'm listening to you. And believe me, you are the amazing host, and you gave me goosebumps. And all of you guys, I pray tomorrow we have election here. And I don't want to talk politics, but I hope that love win. And we must spread. And even if we have challenges, we cannot go to the dark places. We need to keep smiling and being happy, because sometimes the big smile and a little smile can make somebody else the biggest day of his world and bring light to somebody else. So I love you and thank you, and you are the best, and I'm going to keep listening, so I appreciate it.
You guys didn't hear my sound effect, did you? Okay, that's what I had. That's what I had. Yeah, and I think root everything in a foundation of love, empathy, kindness, and compassion. But you still sometimes have to call things out and constructively criticize. I love people who spread positivity, but I think it's important for us to have that balance between when do you actually call stuff out. So, if it means 80-20 for you, 80% is all love and positivity, and then 20% you call stuff out, great. I work on that balance every day on this platform where I try to figure that out. But I think that there are some people who just are always, critiquing, complaining. Some people always just spread love and positivity. But I think there's a balance to be held. But as long as your foundation is rooted in love, kindness, empathy, then you'll be able to pick the right things to talk about and whatnot. So let's go to Keith. Go ahead.
Yeah, I noticed you thanked me for speaking. I wanted to thank you for hosting the space. You've granted the ability to speak on what's going on. You're letting people who are generally silenced speak, and that's very, very powerful of you. Also, I wanted to add to the aspect of digital, the balance of digital with real life experiences. The world is going more and more digital. The more we go on to future days, tomorrow, etc. And you mentioned with you and your family, allowing the access, the digital access, and using that as more of but theoretically, a reward, yet not a reward, more of a privilege of wisdom, of it's something that you have to be wise of when you're on here, communicating and expressing yourself, and that I also admire as well, as I've I've noticed, people do get shut down on here. I've noticed, when sometimes I'll just read random tweets. I find, and not just on Twitter, but everywhere, like Instagram as well. People get shut down. People get shut down harshly, and some people get away with it too. Some people don't get, some people, obviously you can block people, you could report people, but some people, sometimes that doesn't work. I could show you examples. I don't want to show you examples. You don't have much time left, but there are examples here that on my timeline sometimes that I notice. I notice that people are getting attacked based off of expressing themselves, expressing their vision, expressing what they see in reality, whether it's on the television or it's online. And yeah, thank you for expressing and exposing that. That does need to be exposed, 100%. Yeah.
Awesome, thank you. And Keith, I noticed that you're also in Toronto, like I am, so that's cool.
Yes.
I had no
Yes.
idea. So that's great. Yeah, that's great. Maybe someday I'll see you at an event. Oh, it looks like Indra popped off. Sorry, Indra. Indra is one of my famous co-hosts. Make sure you follow her. She's really awesome. Ifo, go ahead.
Hey, well, I didn't
You're still
realize
awake?
I'm still awake,
Go
and
to sleep.
I'm in Nova Scotia, by the way. But I was born on the west coast of Africa. I was when someone earlier had talked about love and talked about also the word fight, and I loved the response that you gave. Because I think sometimes there's a perspective that is missed, because some people have the luxury of not fighting, and some people are in villages that are being attacked, and they need to do what they need to do to protect their families. And so I think we need to have to practice loving compassion and understand that there are multiple ways in which to move things forward. And I think of it like peanut butter, Peanut butter is delicious in a sandwich, but some people are allergic to it. That doesn't mean that peanut butter is bad. Just don't give it to the person who's allergic to it. Um, so I just wanted to bring that point forward, so we can embrace the diversity of tactics as we move collectively forward together. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Love it. Thanks so much, and I appreciate from you and also from Keith the kind words. I do appreciate it, and this is a lot of time too to spend 2 hours on a Twitter space and whatnot. Oh, Indra's back. Indra, you're having the connection issues. I talked about how awesome you are, and everyone should follow you. So make sure you follow Indra because she's amazing. Please make sure you do that. I'm going to bring her back up so she can give some final thoughts because this has been a really powerful discussion. But yeah, I'm spending 2 hours here, and normally I'll often do other things. Like I'll go for a walk or get groceries or do shopping. I'm just been sitting here at my desk for 2 hours just talking to you guys because it's such a really powerful conversation. I think I got to do it again. I think we have to talk more about this. Maybe under the idea of when do you rooting yourself in love and compassion and kindness. When do you know to stand up and critique something, like things like that? I think would be a really great discussion for sure. Thomas, go ahead with your thought.
Oh, I was just thinking how much it goes back to what we were talking before about like minimizing stuff. Like what I mean is that do you need to argue with every person on Twitter? Why, I mean, probably no. Do you also need to like respond to every person in a positive way? I think also no. So I was going back and I was still like thinking like was like the MVP of like using Twitter basically, but not MVP like complete MVP, like the bare minimum, but the reasonable minimum to use Twitter.
Yeah, and I'll share one piece of thought for you guys. So I've talked about this here on Twitter Space. I've also talked about this on LinkedIn. How to deal with trolls, how to deal with hate, how to deal with divisive replies, comments, things like that. I'm not even going to get about DMs. DMs can be easily ignored, but generally speaking, what's the way in which I teach people how to deal with that kind of stuff? Number one, start with empathy. Can I understand why this person is saying this or where they're coming from? Can I understand why they feel this way? Can I understand any way? Is there any way for me to support those feelings or at least understand them? So if you empathize with people, no matter how much pain or anger or negativity they're projecting, the best part of doing that, it allows it to not hurt you as much. It still might hurt a little bit, absolutely. But when they, really talk down to you and demean you, whatever they might, sometimes people say really horrible things. The empathy allows me to understand that hurt people, and people project their pain. So therefore, it doesn't hurt me as much when they do that. That's step number one. Step number two is to understand the severity of what they said. Like, you have to assess the severity of what they're saying. Is it absolutely a horrible thing to say? Is it something that needs to be blocked or tweeted or deleted, or what exactly? How severe is it? So an example of that is somebody once just commented on LinkedIn. They said, "Hey Bobby, you're a pedophile." Like that's all they said, and it was just a really disgusting, terrible comment, which I deleted right away and reported the person. Right? Other people say, "Hey, Bobby, you suck." Okay, well, that's not that big a deal. Like, it depends where it is, right? But I mean, okay, do I really care about that stuff? And then, one time, the person said, "Bobby, you're a fat person. Why are you so overweight?" I'm like, okay, why would you even say that? But and thank them for the thumbs down. So I mean, people say random stuff, and so you have to assess the severity. One big thing for me is when people put down other people. Like if someone says something mean to Indra, I would fight that tooth and nail. When people go after women, like a lot of these toxic masculine people, I will go after them and say, "Hey, cut that stuff out. This looks terrible, whatever it might be." So I sometimes, so in those cases, I'll respond. So the severity also refers to people who attack my friends versus just me. So assess the severity of what's happening, and then number three, now determine what exactly is your um, what is your action going to be? 90% plus of the cases should be to completely ignore it. But the other ones could be to reply and engage. The other one could be to reply with one all-encompassing statement saying that I'm not going to, this is very inappropriate and unprofessional, and we won't engage in that type of content on my platform, on my post, or whatever it might be. Or you choose to ignore it, or you choose to delete it, or you choose to report it. But what are those options you're going to do? And then number four, I forget what the numbers were at. Number four, take the action or inaction that you've so chosen. And then number five, forgive yourself. Right? Forgive yourself for getting caught up in it. Forgive yourself if you decide to engage, because I've been caught up in engaging in the vortex of negativity, and I've been down that road. You have to forgive yourself. If you decide to go that route, forgive yourself if you still have haunting feelings about, whether they're going to do it again or whether you block report them, it's going to work, like whatever it might be, you forgive yourself. So start with empathy and with forgiveness. And, I think that to me is the way to go when it comes to dealing with that kind of stuff. So I want to share that with you guys before we kind of end off today. And we are going to end off now. And speaking of which, Indra's here to share her thought, but also Indra, maybe some final thoughts before we end the room today.
Yeah, absolutely, Bobby. First of all, I want to thank you for holding this space because it's good to just talk about things sometimes. And I hear a lot of people just getting things off their chest. And I want to thank everybody for being so measured in the way that everybody shared things. It was really um, inspiring, mature, and everything else. Like I couldn't have thought of better ways that everybody was just kind of sharing, but in a very calm way. And I think that's the best way. I want to really support what you just said, Bobby, about
being kind to ourselves basically is what you're talking about. Is, we have to consider ourselves in this world, and a lot of things are going to happen, and not to be, you know, reactive all the time, because that's not good for you. It might be what other people want to do. They might want to provoke you to be reactive. And even sometimes there's people that are the most passive aggressive. They're talking about you, but and they're trying to provoke a reaction. And just don't react to that. Just let it go. It's okay to let things go. It's really okay, because maybe give them some compassion. Give other people compassion. Give yourself compassion that maybe they're going through such a rough time in their lives, or they're very unhappy, or you don't know what the person is going through in their environment. And maybe they're just lashing out at everybody, and it's not even you personally. So just let a lot of things go. Let a lot of things go. And remember, in perspective, put everything in perspective, because I always think, okay, this is for myself, and you have to do things that measures for yourself in the best way. But this is social media, people. This is just a small component of our life. We shouldn't be on here 24/7. We should be out living life with our friends, with our family, with our loved ones. That is life. Doing what we need to do apart from just focusing on social media. It is a piece of us, but just remember to put everything into perspective for yourself, for the greater good of your life, and to be happy and to be joyful. So all those good things, start with your inner world and work yourself out. And I just want to say thank you, everybody, for sharing this space. It's always a learning curve to sit and listen sometimes. And thank you, Bobby, for always holding such wonderful spaces and for inviting me to be your co-host. I really love sitting here in your spaces. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks, Andrew. That's really great. And I do appreciate you being here. You've been such a fantastic light in our conversations, and I encourage you all to follow Indra and check all the cool stuff she's doing. A lot of people ask, what do I do in terms of my speeches, or my speeches, but my rooms and whatnot. I actually do lots of rooms. So I do a clubhouse room on Mondays at 4 p.m. called LinkedIn Mastery, but today I won't be doing it because if you see the last post on the nest above, I shared a picture of my kids for Halloween. Today's Halloween, so we're going out trick or treating, and we're putting together a really amazing family costume, which you could probably guess what it might be. It's either Spider-Man or Adam's Family related, so you'll soon find out later on. I also, on Tuesdays at 4 p.m., I do a LinkedIn audio room, and on Thursdays at 2 p.m., I do a LinkedIn audio room called LinkedIn Mastery. And I usually do Twitter Spaces on Monday here at 11 o'clock, the Power of Connection chat. And then sometimes I do a Twitter Space on Sundays around LinkedIn. So, but I think I'll do more of these. I might do another Twitter Space, but that's the ones I do on a regular basis in my network, in my club. So if you want to learn more about me, certainly follow my stuff. You can see what I'm doing. You can follow me on LinkedIn and Twitter and whatnot. But again, I'm going to reiterate the key points here. The reason why we stay on Twitter, despite Elon Musk, is because there's always going to be Elon Musks. There's always going to be, people like that, whether they're billionaires and people of power, whether they're influencers, whether they're negative people, whether there's people who, cause a lot of divisiveness, and not just him, it can be other people too. They're always going to be on all the different platforms: YouTube, Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, you name it, Snapchat. The thing is, the reason why I stay here is Twitter is one of the best tools right now for building and amplifying marginalized voices in the world. Doesn't matter where they are: Africa, Asia, South America, you name it. Helping marginalized people, like different groups, like trans people, LGBTQ, women, brown people, black people. That to me is really, really important. And of course, vulnerable people, right? The disabled, the elderly, the sick. There's a chance for us to advocate for those people. And if we leave, then these other people win. So this is a chance for us to, and because Twitter is such a great place to share love, compassion, kindness, empathy, understanding, unity, education, knowledge, all that kind of stuff, which is our foundation, and then to unite people with understanding and calling people out, and to be able to bridge the gap with all the things that are going on in the world. This is how we're going to change the world. This is why we have these spaces, and this is why we need to be doing fighting the good fight. Whether you like that word or not, I'm using it because I'm a big believer in fighting for what I believe in, fighting for the cause that I care about, and fighting for the people that I love. So I'm going to continue to do that. And I'm going to continue to do that for you. And that's what this space is for. So with that, guys, wish you all the best. I have a request for you. If you like this space, you enjoyed what we talked about today, I would encourage you to take this space, and when the replay comes out, the replay will be available after it's done. Share in a tweet. Share 1, 2, or 3 things you've learned from this space, or calls to action, or whatever you learned from this space. Tag me on it. Tag Indra, and that way I'll see it. I'll then be able to retweet it to my 500,000 followers, which will get you some followers, which will also bring attention to it, and invite people to come back next week, because I'd love to have more of you next week. Maybe we'll do a whole thing on the empathy and dealing with trolls and whatnot, or we'll talk more about what's going on with Twitter and how we're leveraging it. So I hope you can do that. I appreciate that. I want to thank everybody that had the courage to come on stage and speak. I want to thank everybody who came in the audience to listen, and I want to thank everyone for just being part of this whole conversation. I do believe that in the power of positive conversation. I do believe in facilitating really great content with people. I think that goes a long way, whether it's a dinner party or whether it's here. I actually find it easier to do it with people on Twitter, because someone said earlier, do it with your friends. Well, actually, it's harder with our friends because we're worried about our friends getting upset with us. Whereas with people we don't know as well, it's easier to have a conversation sometimes about these really powerful, deep topics. So I love Twitter Space for that, and I'll be back. With that, I'm off to have lunch, then do some work, and then my kids come home. We get ready for Halloween. I wish you guys a very happy Halloween. I wish you guys a wonderful week, and I will see you guys as soon as I'll see you out there. All the best to you. Thanks so much, and lots of love in my heart for all of you. Take care. In the room in 3, 2, 1. And feel free to unmic and say bye if you're up here. Bye.
Have a great day.
See you later.
Goodbye.
Good one.